Here I am at Nawanakon Industrial Estate 1 hour and a half ago. An order was issued for everybody in the area to be evacuated. And now police and military forces combined coordinating their efforts to take every person out of this area because this barrier may not hold. Here I'm standing on a water dike here. It's a dirt and sandbag water dike which preventing the water from going into the village area. If you look to my left side here, this is the water level that we've been experiencing. The water level here is 5 meters deep. And this is as far as my feet can take me for now. We'll see whether I can get deeper into the industrial zones or not. Long water dike here.
Okay.
This is the final level that the water is still seeping in. There's also another close shot here I'm taking.
Well, the water is very high right there.
Very high. They said it was 5 meters, actually. And here's more close up. 5-meter water level is being held on by this sand dike. And currently, right now, the wind is pretty cool and the water is pretty still. Now, if all efforts to contain the water here fail, then the whole Nawanakon Industrial Estate will be jeopardized. By the time I was walking out, I noticed the water level was higher than when I went in, and I was pretty convinced that this water dike will not hold, and Nawanakon Industrial Estate will definitely be flooded.
Well, this picture is around what time you were there?
About 2:33 p.m.
That's in the afternoon.
Yes.
Okay, and the water has been coming out through the dikes from 11 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, since the large breakthrough was at 11 a.m.
Only 3 hours, and it's that high.
Yeah, and this is a picture of evacuees. This is actually when it went in. You can see there's parts of the road that's still visible from the water, but afterwards there was no. And after that, you see each industry now had to fend for themselves because the main water dike is not sustainable.
Well, the water level should be already high by today, higher than what we've seen here.
There's no one left there already. Efforts continue in the Nawanakon Industrial District. The officials ensure that orderly conduct is a key to evacuating safely. Now, on the road down here a bit is Thammasat University, and that's the shelter point for people who will be evacuated to take shelter there. And also down the road a bit is Rangsit, and then it's into Bangkok. So we'll have to monitor very closely how bad this flood is gonna get. This is Natakon Plodi reporting for ASEAN TV. Sukumpan Baripat, the Bangkok governor, has said this morning that Bangkok is in the unsafe condition, but assured that the capital would not sink under the water in a sudden. He said preparation is essential to handle with the possible floods. Earlier this morning, Sukumpan went to inspect the barrier at the U-turn bridge across Klong Rangsit, Phahon Yotin Road in northern Bangkok. He identified the spot as most vulnerable to create Bangkok floods if the authorities failed to block the water around the U-turn bridge. The water was rising and the gap to the top of the barriers was about 50 centimeters. The authorities have created 4 rows of barriers, including water pumps, to prevent the water from flooding into Bangkok from that spot. Residents around the area have parked their cars on the bridge. Sukumpan said Bangkok authorities have erected barriers 80 centimeters in height to cover a distance of 1 kilometer. Since the road is 2 meters above sea level, the height of the barriers and the road combined is 2.8 meters. Sukumpan cautioned that if the water from Klong Rangsit 8 and Klong Rangsit 9 were to come down further, it would be necessary to raise the level of the barriers by another 50 to 80 centimeters. Increasing the height of the barriers falls under the responsibility of the government, he emphasized. Sukumpan said that he would like to reassess the situation again before informing the public about the threat of floods in Bangkok, since he does not believe that the government cannot handle the floods. He said the Yingluck government and its Bangkok Metropolitan Administration share the same information, but the BMA makes the most accurate assessment. Sukumpan painted a contrast picture to the government's flood assessment by saying last night that some 1.2 million sandbags would be needed to barricade northern Bangkok over the next 48 hours. Otherwise, Bangkok could be swamped by water.
Well, it is like all across Thailand, people are using sandbags to fend off the high rise of water. But AIT seems to think otherwise, as the building concrete or sandbags barriers or using roads as embankment walls are not necessarily the right solutions because outlets are needed for water to seep in. That's according to the Asia Institute of Technology. Sutat Weerasakul, a researcher at AIT, said that the water pressure is massive and cannot simply be held back by temporary barriers and sandbag walls, which can collapse at any time. Sutat then proposed to water flow naturally out to estuaries. He also said the attempt to drain water from the Chao Phraya River through the Chiang Rak Noi Canal was not a good idea because the canal was higher than the river. Sutat also said the National Flood Relief Center report that the AIT compound was not flooded was incorrect. The high-tech industrial estate in Ayutthaya remains inundated and water levels are expected to rise further. The latest industrial estate to be hit is Nawat Nakhon in Pathum Thani, immediately north of Bangkok. He said also facing the risk of flooding are AIT, Thammasat University's Rangsit campus, and possibly Don Mueang and Sai Mai districts in Bangkok. Utain Chat Pinyo, the chief of a flood drainage committee, said slums built on the banks of the canal and rivers should be removed and the waterworks and electricity authorities should be punished for allowing the dwellers of these homes to use the utilities. He asked the legality of water and electricity being provided to these slums. Utain said he would also propose the building of 3 drainage stations to keep the Bang Plu industrial estate in Samut Prakan dry. This will prevent eastern Bangkok and Samut Prakan from getting flooded in the future. Meanwhile, the Defense Minister Yuttasak Sasiprapha said the dredging of the canal intended as a shortcut of the Thajin River in Nakhon Pathom was making good progress and should be completed in time. The Song Khanong Canal, along with the 2 other, would double the amount of water that can be drained, he said.